How we doing, Big Orange Nation? This is Frank Rock. This is the House of Orange Sports Channel coming at you. Tennessee, of course, with a big win last night at Oklahoma. A big boy win, an SEC win, a win that shows Tennessee is an elite team moving forward with the way they won that game. But one thing that's a big part of that is this defensive line. You look at that defensive line, though, you're losing guys after this season. So how do you continue to stay here? Well, you continue to add to it. And we'll talk about that in a minute. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for checking out the content, supporting the channel. It's greatly appreciated. If you like the content, hit that thumbs up. You know, the biggest thing you can do to help me out is to share out that content. If you have not subscribed, hit that subscribe button, as we're 10 away from 2,000. And if you do subscribe, turn on notifications. We will be live tomorrow night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. Should be a fun one tomorrow night. Isaiah Campbell, number 37, according to On3, or I'm sorry, 24/7, number 43 in the nation, according to On3, 6'4", 260, give or take, depending on what you look at with the websites. Had been committed to Clemson since January. Normally with Clemson commitments, once they're in the fold, Dabo wants them to shut down the recruitments. Isaiah Campbell has kept dialogue with Tennessee. From what I'd read, I think Anna Adams, 24/7, reported it. Chad Simmons on 3 both had articles about where Campbell has opened his recruitment back up. It says Tennessee and North Carolina are the main contenders for it. He is from Durham, North Carolina. He's ranked number 2 in the state of North Carolina for 2025. Behind you, guessed it, David Sanders Jr., a guy who, I'm going off topic with this. If David Sanders Jr. was on campus right now, he could possibly start for this team. But anyhow, we'll go back to this one. Isaiah Campbell, defensive line, 6'4", 260, give or take. According to Chad Simmons, he says, I like the Vols in this recruitment since he has opened it back up. Top 50 guy. You look at the publications on it as well. He is a consensus 4-star across the board. I want to look here while I'm looking at, because they normally do a pretty good job on 3 of putting kind of the consensus with it. So he is a 4-star across the board. Number 30, the on 3 stuff, he's 31. The industry ranking has him 43. I'm sorry. So on 3, 31 in the country. 24/7 has him 37th in the country. ESPN 66th. Rivals 102nd. So he ranges anywhere from 31st to 102. Industry rank of 43 according to on 3. With what Tennessee's doing, and I had some saying, well, I don't know why we do these neutral site games. And I get it. I understand it. But you're trying to put that footprint in North Carolina. That's a neighboring state to Tennessee. Smoke Matthews, one of the targets, defensive back targets, 2026, said, yeah, this is almost like kind of like a home school here at Tennessee. It's only a few hours away. It's an easy trip over. Charlotte's not I don't know the distance from Charlotte, but apparently Smoke Matthews, his trip is not that far over. And I mean, there's upwards of, I would say, close to 10 guys Tennessee's in on for 2026. I mean, we look at, for the current cycle, you've got David Sanders and you've got Charles House in the fold. If you're to add Isaiah Campbell, and it says he will be in town for an official visit the weekend of the Alabama game. So it'll be interesting to see, because now we're getting at that point of the season, you're starting to see flips. It's possible Tennessee loses Douglas Utu. Christian Gass has visited Georgia. He says he's solid, but Georgia's going to continue to swing there. Auburn's been hard on Travis Smith. I don't know why you would even want to go to Auburn. That program looks bad. There's no quarterback play. You look at the quarterback play with Tennessee, with Nico, he's going to continue to get better. Then you've got Jake Merklinger, you've got George McIntyre, you've got Faison Brandon, all at this point in time scheduled to be coming to Tennessee within the next 2 years. Look at other programs. Who has a better quarterback situation than Tennessee? If you're Travis Smith, you got to do what you got to do. If you got to look around, Auburn's not the place you're going to find a better situation. But if Tennessee, back to the point in hand, Isaiah Campbell, that would add right now for Tennessee's recruiting class, So they have from defensive linemen, Marion Dye, defensive lineman out of Indiana, Ethan Utley, defensive lineman out of Nashville, Jaden Lofton, defensive lineman out of New Jersey. Christian Gass is he's listed as a linebacker. Can he play some line? Possibly. I'm kind of thinking he sticks at linebacker, but I have seen that possibility as well. So they have those guys currently in the fold. They have Darion Smith out of Maryland, and they have Charles House as well. I had seen that they would like to add one more. This would be ideal for them because you got to factor in after this coming season, as dominant and as good as this defensive line is, there's still going to be a lot of talent next year. You've always got to factor in the portal, but you've got to factor in who's leaving. They're losing some big-time players. They're losing Elijah Simmons. Look at what he did last night. He was awesome last night. Bryson Eason has been excellent. Omari Thomas has been, just solid, really good his whole time here. A guy like Tyree West, he's a junior right now. The way he's playing, does his stock improve enough to where he may have a decision after this season? I think it remains to be seen. Omar Norman Lott has been awesome this season. Jackson Moy, look at what he did last night. He's a junior. Of course, James Pierce Jr., we got to think he's gone after this season as well. Dominic Bailey is a redshirt senior. So Tennessee could possibly lose a lot of talent off of this defensive line after this season. You've got to replenish it. You've got to replace it. Rodney Garner likes to go to the portal. He's been doing that each season to add guys, whether it's Caleb Tremblay, whether it's, Omar Norman Lott, whether it's Jackson Moy. I know there's somebody else I'm forgetting in this mix, but I think it's going to be Rodney Garner's way to add one or two through the portal, but the lifeblood of this line is through recruiting. And you always got to be on the lookout for somebody not happy with the snaps they're getting, possibly. The way these guys are playing, the way they're rotating them, what they're doing in this conference, I think you're crazy to leave this program if you do. But you never know. You never know with that. This would be a big-time pickup for Tennessee if they're able to close this one off. And it does seem like they'll have a chance to do that the weekend of that Alabama game. I can't think after what North Carolina did yesterday, if that's the two teams, that you got to like what you're seeing there when you get beat 70-50 by James Madison. That's no disrespect to James Madison. That's just, they're a pretty solid team. They're just getting their footing going. But they laid a whipping on North Carolina. I like where Tennessee's at based on what I'm reading, especially from Chad Simmons. I think Steve Wiltfong said something about he liked where they were at, too, if I'm not mistaken. Got to keep adding. Got to keep adding to that. Tennessee, my question with this is, are they taking over the state of North Carolina? They're attempting it. I can tell you that right now. You look at where they're at next year, you already got Faison Brandon in the fold. They're in pretty good shape with numerous guys in that state. You look at that 2026 cycle for Tennessee. You got Leo Delaney, you got Smoke Matthews, you got Brody Keefe, you got Harrison, you got Durham. Just plenty of guys here that are looking at that. It's pretty. I want to look at it here just to be sure. And they had a couple of guys on campus. So if we look at 2026, as it's number one, according to 24/7, is Faison Brandon. Tennessee's got him in the fold. Now we go to state rankings here and want to look at that one real quick with North Carolina. If you add two of the top guys now, next year you got Brandon, Rodney Dunham, not Durham. That's what I was thinking. Defensive end, possible baseball commitment as well. So he is a pitcher. You got to think they're going hard for that. Kendra Harrison, tight end. He was playing at Providence State. He's transferred back to Reidsville. From what I read, just was not a fit. Aiden Harris, he was on campus recently. Leo Delaney has been to campus numerous times. Smoke Matthews as a corner. Tennessee's after heavily. I mentioned Brody Keefe, a wide receiver. Tennessee's in on a lot of guys. They're trying to put their footprint in Charlotte. If you're Tennessee, your main areas are the Atlanta area, obviously the state of Tennessee, and Charlotte. And I think they're starting to get some more footing in Virginia as well. If you hit those four, history says you're in pretty good shape. You're Tennessee. That is where Tennessee is really made good in their program over history. Rodney Garner knows it from when he was here in the 90s, and he's back now. The rest of this staff knows it too. Rodney Garner knows what success looks like in recruiting. He's carrying that over into this staff. I expect Rodney Garner, Coach Chop and company are going to close off Isaiah Campbell within the next month. Part 4, Evolution of Tennessee's Defense. I'm releasing it this evening. I hope you'll check that out. It's pretty interesting seeing where we started with Part 1 all the way up to Part 4. The first season with Josh Heupel, I've gone season by season and how they've evolved and where they're at now. Pretty interesting stuff. I hope you'll check that out later on, and leave me some feedback on that too if you check it out. But thank you again for your support. If you want to say thanks, there's a super thanks. There's the membership options. There is the Patreon as well. Any support of the channel, it is always appreciated. Last but most certainly not least, though, have a great rest of your day. Frank Rock, House of Orange Sports Channel. Go Vols.